Okay, everyone. Welcome to the Conscious Contact speaking group of Doylestown. We're getting ready to start. Before Chris comes up and we get this moving, a couple announcements. Please be mindful. We're not supposed to have any food or drink in the sanctuary. Please take whatever you bring in with you out. Downstairs is coffee. There will be a lunch. We're free lunch. We're going to be providing that to you. It's a cost that the group provides to you guys. To break down what we're doing, we'll probably have two 50-minute sessions. In between them, there'll be like a 15-minute break. Then we'll have lunch after those two sessions, and then we'll come back and do 2 or 3 more to finish it out somewhere around 4 p.m. We'll close up here, and then Chris will be speaking at nighttime over at St. Paul's, which is like a half a block from here. Please be mindful of the church. Be respectful, because they did give us the access to the sanctuary. This is their most holiest spot. And treat it that way, please, because it's we have a great relationship with these churches, and it's how we treat it and how we keep coming back and carrying this message and practicing these principles in all our affairs. Be mindful that please take a second to kill those cell phones if you got them, so it doesn't interrupt the speaker. They're going to pass the basket around, great amount of cost to the group here. Be mindful that we put this on for free. We put that on so the people that can't afford it can be here. So whatever you can afford, great. Every bit counts, and I think that's about it. Anything else we got to cover? Anything I missed? Let's have some fun. Chris, you're up. Well, please welcome Chris.
Howdy. My name is Chris RAYMER. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. It's nice to see y'all. I'm glad I didn't have to drive from the airport last night up here. Oh my God, I came into Newark. I'm glad I had a chauffeur. Yeah, a New York lady drove me. I was in good hands. Y'all know how to drive. We don't in Texas. So I am honored to be here. I really reiterate something that Ron just said. God, I've done this for a whole bunch of years, getting to travel and stuff. Used to be you could travel anywhere in the United States for $300, and you can't do that anymore. It's just crazy. So these expenses for flights, and none of us are traveling first class, guys. This is just bare bones. So contribute where you can, because the expenses of doing this. And I want to thank Bill for sure, Barefoot Bill for setting up the speaker stuff and the CDs in the back. Christmas is coming, guys. I mean, all of your Christmas shopping in one spot right here. I'm like, just jump in there, guys. We desperately. I get calls all the time from folks. People that can't go to conferences, people that are out there isolated where they work, blah blah blah. That's how they're hearing the messages, through these speakers CDs. So any of y'all that can support that, we appreciate it. Golly, there's about 1,000 things I'd like to say. Try to stay focused for 50 minutes. I mentioned too one thing real quick so we can finish today sometime before midnight. When we take a break, 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and then start heading back in here, and then we'll get the break. The breaks is usually where we get kind of balled up. I'm not saying it's the smokers that do that. It's just the smokers that do that. So anyway, we got some real smokers in here. You'll be freezing out there. Okay. I finally got sober in 1987. I spent a whole bunch of years, I'm not going to tell a bunch of my story, but I spent a whole bunch of years in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous trying to get well. I tried to save a marriage in the early 80s. I went to my first AA meeting, and these are some wonderful people. I'll talk more about it tonight, but these are some great people in those meetings. I'm not taking a shot at any of them, but they loved me to death, and they were sweet and keep coming back, and 5,000 one-liners, and I kept relapsing over and over and over. And, towards the end of my little career in there, when I'd pick up a desire chip, nobody would applaud. It's like, yeah, right. Nobody believed that I was ever going to get sober. And I look back in hindsight about it. It was, guys, I just didn't understand this. And I'm so frustrated because I watch you get sober in those meetings, and I can't seem to get sober in those meetings. And I really, really want to get sober. I need to get sober. And I believe that because I had people say, well, you really want it bad enough, you'll get this. And that is absolute 100%. I'm going to remember where I am. I'm in a church, and I am not going to cuss today. But that is absolute horse poot The person in this gathering that wants to stay sober or needs to stay sober the most is not the person that's necessarily going to stay sober. It's the person that's finally figured out the truth based on his experience and actually does the work. And that's my experience. Let me tell you, guys, I celebrated 32 years in November. And I've worked in the industry, treatment business, and I'm not here to talk to any about that, but I worked I've done it for like 27 years. I was about 5 years sober when I got a little intern job at a little treatment center and been doing it ever since. And I'm on the front line watching people come in. And there's just a lot of people up there that understand and can relate and resonate to my story. I know there's people that came in first time, picked up one shit and got sober. Man, that is the coolest. My twin brother did. Loser, I don't know. I couldn't do it. But I took him to the meeting where they were going to be carrying solutions. I'm just convinced, and it'll be a prevailing thread through everything I say today. And I got to mention this. I get to share the podium. Where's my buddy Chrissy? I get to share the podium today with Chris and S for his anonymity. But he's one of my favorite people on earth. And I got to tell you, anytime you're doing workshops, you just pray that you're going to get a chance to do one with somebody that's on the same page. There is nothing worse than sharing the podium, doing a little step workshop like this with somebody that is not anywhere close to the same page. It's just, you spend a whole hour just trying to defend yourself, or contradict everything. Well, I didn't really agree with everything. He quit. We don't ever have to worry about that. Because I've shared the podium with him a million times and he's pushing. And there's a bunch of you in this audience too. A bunch of you little thumpers that I've known for years, and I am so honored to see you again. It's so good. Patty's going to be miserable if she missed this trip. She's just going to be so mad. Too bad. So sad. I got to see my peeps and you didn't. There you go. We're going to have fun today, guys. And I'm just going to tell you going in the door before I get too into this. I'm going to share my experience. And I'll say it again tonight when I talk. I'm going to share my experience. My experience may be different than your experience. I used to spend a bunch of time at these deals just battling with you after I speak in between on the break because you didn't agree with something I said. Buddy, how cool. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with Chris. We don't want to argue it. We're just going to share our experience. Next week you can stand up here and you can share your experience. Try not to kill anybody while you're doing it. We're little thumpers, guys. We're coming out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. What a concept. And that's all we can do. So, and just saying, I love you to death. It doesn't matter if you don't agree with whatever. We're all friends in here. I love you. I know you're helping people best you can, and I'm going to do the same. And let's get on down the road with it. It's just no big deal. God, if I had a nickel for every person I disagreed with in AA, I'd be wealthy. So that's okay. We'll just keep. One of the things in 1987, when I finally got sober, after a little suicide attempt, and I ended up back in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I ended up back in a room, and there were a bunch of big book people. Literally, I walked in, and they were all carrying big books. They had big books in their lap, and I'd never been to a meeting like that. I'm up in North Texas, and I'm going to gazillions of meetings because I'm told that meeting makers make it, and I'm going. But we don't have any big books on the table. How it works is on a plaque, laminated on the little 6-foot table there with an ashtray that's about this big around with about 4,000 million cigarette butts in it, and that's the meetings I was going to, and people get well in those meetings all day long. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't understand what it is. I'm 7 years in AA. I don't have a sponsor, and I don't own a big book. And I'll go until I just can't stand it anymore, and then I'll leave and go relapse again. It's just the nature of the beast, and we can talk about it. And anyway, in '87, some old geezers got around me, and after the meeting, and they asked me to stay a few minutes to see if they were going to qualify me. He says, Chris, let us qualify you to find out if you're even a real alcoholic. And of course, I'm defensive. Of course, I'm an alcoholic. I'm drunk now. I'm an alcoholic. I know. And he says, I know, Chris, but if you really knew you were an alcoholic, you would get well. There's only 2 reasons that you will relapse. And I'll do this with little dope fiends too. I'm just saying there's only two reasons. You don't know what the problem is, or you don't know what the solution is. You'd be amazed how many people come to Alcoholics Anonymous and still don't know what the problem is. They call themselves an alcoholic. Guys, I walked in the early 80s. I called myself an alcoholic for 7 years. I didn't even more believe it than the man in the moon. You don't understand. My case is different. I'm just misunderstood. You know, if I could finally find a girlfriend, I could probably get sober. And if I could just get a job, if I could just, all the stuff that we talk about. Excuse me. I put little issue man up here. I know some of you in the back in the cheap seats can't see this. That's why they're cheap seats. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. This is more to keep me online. Up at the top, excuse me, I put a little my little email address. So any of the stuff I'm going to reference to some quotes and stuff. If you want copies of any of that, some of y'all like that stuff, and I can send them to you in a heartbeat. Somebody showed me Dropbox about 10 years ago, and it's awesome. Okay, I can send you real quick without much effort. But you see this little guy up here. Those little X's are all the issues. All God's kids got trouble. I'm going to say this right here. It's going to make some of y'all uncomfortable. Okay, y'all get ready. I love you. Let's hug after this is over. Remember, I'm in treatment, guys, but I'm spending years and years, and everybody comes into treatment, they got the same thing. I'm drinking because of this. If I ask the question, I got 80 people in treatment right now. I guarantee I could go ask them, and every single one of them would say this: I drink because of this. You're wrong. If you're drinking because of one of these X's, job, girl, trauma, what? Then you're a hard drinker, a hard drugger. You might not be one of us. This is why this is controversial when I say this, guys. This is what makes some of you uncomfortable, because you're sitting in these rooms and you're still questioning this yourself, whether you're really one of us or not. I'm not saying that stuff's not important. If you come to treatment and don't deal with that stuff, you're not going to stay sober, because it'll continue to block you from the sunlight of the Spirit. It'll continue to stop you from participating in this whole thing we call recovery. But if all you do is go to treatment and deal with all that external stuff, you're not going to stay sober. Because dealing with that other stuff, yeah. How many of you guys have ever stood in front of a medicine cabinet window in a bathroom with the door locked, with tears in your eyes, begging God to fix this, that you can't continue to drink and do those other outside issues like you're doing? Every hand in here will be up. Harry Tebow said, it was a Bill Wilson shrink for years, and a great quote, and I don't know if I bought it or not. It's clear that hitting bottom can produce a surrender, and that without surrender, an individual can hit bottom 1,000 times without anything significant taking place. Well-crafted sentence. Let me paraphrase. You can hit 1,000 bottoms, but unless you surrender at one of those bottoms, you're just going to keep hitting bottoms. What surrender is not crying in the medicine cabinet window or going to treatment. Surrender is committing to get on a spiritual path that will change your life forever. But it's going to take some effort to get on that path and do the things that we're asking you to do. And if you're not convinced you're one of us, you're not going to get well. You're not going to do that work. So many of us, guys, I spent years, again, 7 years and now of Alcoholics Anonymous, listening to you tell me your scary ooh war stories. I may just be the first to tell you again, your war story is not going to scare me into recovery. It might get my attention. Your war story might get me willing to go to treatment maybe, but it's not going to get me sufficient enough to do the work that I need to do. There's no chapter in the back of the book called End to Scare. I get emails from all over the world, folks. I have never once, not once in all the years that I've had access to a computer, has anybody texted me, emailed me, said anything about, oh, Chris, I remember you talking about eating out of dumpsters in Houston, Texas, and I just put the plug in the jug and I've never had a drink since. Yep. I have had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of emails from people who said, oh my God, I finally figured this out. I had somebody qualify me. They listened to one of these workshops and they finally said, oh my gosh, it came to, I'm an alcoholic. Those guys sat down with me, guys, and they showed me that circle triangle. I'll go real quick with this. I got this little rubber stamp. Where did I put it? My bag's over there. I got that little rubber stamp. If you got your books, I'll stamp it in your book because I travel with it all the time. But I mean, this is what they did back in the day. We had it in our books for like 36 years. And then they had problems with trying to copyright it. And anyway, New York, in their wisdom, decided to just take it out of the book. Bill Wilson brought it to us in 50, by 1957, and it was in all the conference-approved literature. Y'all remember seeing it, right? Little circle triangle. We can still use it. It's just they don't acknowledge it as the AA symbol anymore. But in it was the Recovery Unity Service, and that's how we used to stay in all three parts of the program so we could stay sober. Consequently, back before we lost it, our success rates were way higher than they are today. Am I saying that that's the reason? I don't know. But they sat down with me and they showed me all three parts of the program and they explained the physical craving, mental obsession, spiritual malady. And guys, I got to tell you, it took them about 15 minutes to do, which is going to take me just a little longer than that to explain it here. And I went home that night with tears in my eyes with the knowledge I knew what was wrong with me. Guys, I'm on 7 prescription medications a day. I've been in and out of treatment. I'm an IOP. I've been in AA for 7 stupid years. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. And because 2 old guys loved me enough to stay after a meeting and open the big book and showed me what was wrong with me, it changed my life forever. We always talk about it here. You get a little newcomer in here. Are you an alcoholic? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's move on to step 2. Okay. Well, we got 100 pages in the big book that discuss the 12 steps. 100 pages, 60 of those, give or take a page, are the first step. The other 40 pages talk about the next 11 steps. Now I hear people out there, there's no more one step more important than the other. Okay. If you say so. I think Bill Wilson really wants us to understand this. Got it? There's a great quote. We got these little stickers everywhere, guys. I got some in Texas if you want them. But I'll send you the artwork. You can get them. It's an excerpt from a letter Bill Wilson did in 1942. It says, our chief responsibility to the newcomer is an adequate presentation of the program. No kidding. See, an adequate presentation of the program is sitting down and explaining what the disease is and how to recover from it. And then you get to decide if you want to play this game or not. Nobody's going to jam it down your throat. Nobody's going to back you into a corner. We're not going to call an interventionist. We're not going to, we're just, it's up to you. But golly, guys, we've got to start telling the newcomer what this is really about. Adequate presentation of the program is not, keep coming back. It works if you work it. That's not it. I'm not knocking that. It's important to keep coming back. No, it's not. That's just stupid. I don't know. If we look at our AA group, we say stay at the end of the meeting, which is just as stupid. But we do it. but we do it. Bill Wilson in 1961. Y'all know it was 11th on Monday. I think it was Bill Wilson's AA birthday. He would have been 8. I mean, how cool is that? That's pretty neat. 1961 was 10 years before Bill Wilson passed away. He wrote this little article, Dilemma of No Faith. I got it. I can send it to you if you're interested. Bill Wilson wrote, though 300,000 have recovered. Y'all see, Bill Wilson, anytime he talks about that, he talks about, Y'all see recovered? There's an ED on that. It didn't say ING. Some of you in here that are still recovering, finish your amends and come with us to the light. Oh, come on. Let's share some hope with the newcomer. Oh my God. Though 300,000 have recovered in the last 25 years, maybe 500,000 more have walked into our midst and then out again. We can't well content ourselves with the view that all these recovery failures were entirely the fault of newcomers themselves. Perhaps a great many didn't receive the kind and amount of sponsorship they so sorely needed. So we didn't communicate when we might have done so. So we AAs failed them. Now you can say what you want about Bill Wilson, but he had some humility about it. He's looking at this thing in 1961. We've been around for a little while, and he's seeing a whole bunch of people come into our fellowship and not stay. Guys, we've never, and I'll talk about it this afternoon when we talk sponsorship stuff, we have never had a problem getting people to come to Alcoholics Anonymous. We have a bear of a challenge keeping them to stay, bringing them in here for keeps. A lot of times we don't tell the newcomer how to get well. We don't explain this stuff, so the little newcomer just leaves crazy. And then we scrape them off the side of the plate. Well, I've heard it 1,000 times in those 7 years. I knew that little wet-eyed son big didn't want it. I knew he wasn't ready. Really? Really? I was so ready. This whole message has been so candy-coated and watered down in different parts of the country. It's pap. It's like, why would it work for anybody? Well, maybe, perhaps, one day, maybe you could, perhaps, someday, work the steps. Nobody, again, I'm sorry about sarcasm, guys. Nobody's trying to hurt us when they say that. It's just wrong. Nobody in the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous took months to work the steps. They worked them quick. Pick up a book. Do your own research. There's a race here, guys. I'll say this and I'm going to move on real quick. There's a author down in Florida, archivist, historian, a guy named William White, wonderful guy. And I've had a chance to meet him a few times. Brilliant. And one of the things he wrote, there's an article he wrote, it talks about this transformational event, this window of opportunity that happens with alcoholics. And how many of y'all can relate to it? You know, you come into a meeting, you start doing a little, you participate a little bit, and got some food in your guts, and you start feeling a little bit better, get some sleep, and, oh my God, and then some old crusty idiot in the corner wants to take a shot. Oh, you're just on a pink cloud. Which I think is really disrespectful, because there's no such thing. It's called God's grace. I don't think we need to be doing that, making fun of folks because they're happy. What? They can't be a grumpy like you? Oh my God, I don't know. I'll be glad when all those people leave our fellowship. Go to the light. Go to the light. Probably shouldn't have said that. Okay. I know, that wasn't nice. They talk about this little window of opportunity, though, guys, and depending on how far the illness has progressed, this window will stay open. You come in and you do hardly nothing, and you just go into meetings and you start feeling great, and it says, guys, you're getting some results of what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes it'll stay open a week, 2 weeks, 6 months. I don't know, depending on the progression of the illness, it'll stay open, and then it slams. Then it shuts. It's like, I don't know, I was doing so good yesterday, and today I'm drinking. Yeah, that's what happens, guys. Let's get the steps done while the window's open. The biggest mistake we make in Alcoholics Anonymous today is that we don't qualify the alcoholic, which thereby would put the urgency